Buongiorno, everyone. Welcome back to Lineup Predictions here at the Magpie Channel TV, where we'll be covering Newcastle United's game tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Lovely Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff against Norwich away at Carrow Road. Before we're going to get into the video, we're going to have a little shout out to our sponsor, BetMate. For those that watched the video last weekend, will have seen that I had to do a little forfeit. I had to wear a Wolves shirt because we lost a little bet with our friends at Talking Wolves, other collaborators with BetMate. Just a bit of fun, but normal service was shortly resumed. Let's have a look at the images there. For the Leicester game, following that, no forfeits, nothing there. But if there was, I wouldn't have worried too much about it. This was the team that I put out. I did make a last-minute change, as you can. With BetMate, unlike Premier League Fantasy, your team's pretty much there from like an hour before the first game. You can make changes right up until pretty much kickoff with BetMate. So Iheanacho didn't actually start the game. Patson Daka did. So I changed them over and started Patson Daka. And as it happened, this was the outcome. On a £3 bet, I got £40 out of it. And as you can see, Big Renty's down there in 5th place. He got £8 out of it as well. So you don't need to win. We've mentioned that last week. You don't need to come top like I did and get the £40. Anything within gets a little bit out of it as well. So yeah, £3 entry. This week is a minimum £50 payout. So could be a little bit better. Could be a little bit better off there. And because of that, normal service will be resumed back in the black and white. Oh, lovely. That's what we prefer. Oh, get off. It's boiling in here. Wait, wasn't do that. The other Castore, the better Castore. Lovely. Absolutely buzzing with that one. Yeah, so make sure that you join us. The code is down there, MPC-NOR to join the league. All good fun. Yeah, so let's get into the game there then. And we'll have a little look at how things have been between Newcastle and Norwich over the years. It's actually been quite interesting. I've learned quite a bit about our history while doing this research. Renty spoke about it as well in his match preview, which is up on the channel now. But we haven't actually won a game at Carrow Road since the very first encounter in the Premier League between Newcastle and Norwich way back in January 1994. It was a 2-1 win on the day. Goals by Peter Beardsley and Andy Cole set that up. And this is the Premier League, although things weren't too much different in the Championship either. I think when we were down there, we drew at Carrow Road and won at St James's. But it's been very even for the home team. The home team, whoever that is, has been the benefiter of this fixture. So at Carrow Road, in 8 Premier League games, obviously Norwich have only lost 1, that very, very first one back in 1994. And since then, won 5, drew 2. And at St James's Park, in 9 fixtures, Newcastle have won 6 and drawn 3 and never lost to Norwich at St James's. So the home team's always been the favourite in this fixture, so it will be an interesting one to come. I've been having a look at a few other little stats there. We'll go through them. So obviously Norwich at the moment are 20th in the Premier League, rock bottom. Look, odds on to get relegated. 21 points on the board, 5 wins all season, 7 points from safety, and 1 behind Norwich. So they may not finish rock bottom, but I still think relegation is on the cards, being 7 points from safety. A win a couple of weeks ago against Burnley, though, looked like a very, very good result for them. 2-0 win. Looked like they were going to start propelling out of the danger zone, but I think it is a little bit too little too late for them. Burnley with a win last night away to, was it away? I don't know if it was away or at home, but they beat Southampton 2-0 anyway to help their claim. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between who survives between Burnley and Everton now, with Watford and Norwich pretty much already being down. I watched a bit of the game last week as well. Man United, and they've done all right. Like the first, I'd say 40 minutes, you could tell why they're getting relegated. You could tell why they were bottom of the league. They were awful, absolutely dreadful. But to be fair to them, they came back and they've done very, very well. They were 2-0 down at the time, pushing hard in them last 5 minutes, got a goal, and the halftime whistle came at a very, very good time for Man United because they were pushing for that equaliser. which did actually come just after the second half. They were pushing, fighting, but they got done by Cristiano Ronaldo. It wasn't even Man United. Ronaldo, hat-trick, seen Norwich off. So it was unlucky. I think they deserved a point out of that game. I think they were very, very good. Their last win prior to that Burnley 2-0 win was the other team in the bottom zone, which was Watford back in January 21st. Only 2 wins so far in this calendar year. So that's why they're in the bottom there, unfortunately. An interesting little stat is that Tim Krul has never actually lost at St. James's Park since leaving. Winning 1. I think that I can't remember who you went to, because obviously I've just said that we haven't lost. The last 2 were draws. The last 2 games at St. James's Park have been draws, which Tim Krul was involved in, and he has won. So 3 times he's came back to St. James's Park, won 1, drawn 2. The last game earlier in the season in November ended in a 1-1 draw. Obviously, we'll all remember that as the game that we should have won to start lifting our spirits a little bit. I think it was a very important game. But Kieran Clark, I think that was his last game for a while. It should have been, if it wasn't. Got himself sent off around about 9 minutes in. So played the majority of the game, nearly the full game with 10 men. And it was a very, very good game as well, to be fair. With being down to 10 men, I thought we were brilliant for the majority. You wouldn't have even noticed that we had a man less right up until the last 20 minutes or so. I think tired legs were kicking in. Callum Wilson put 1-0 up with a penalty. Them last 20 minutes. It was a long 20 minutes because, I think there wasn't tired legs. I think we were a little bit overstretched down to being a man down, which, like I said, you wouldn't have noticed for the first 70-odd minutes. I think it was absolutely brilliant. That equaliser was pushing, and to be fair, I think they were pushing a little bit hard after that equaliser to even win it as well. I think the full-time whistle came at a very, very good time for us. A little bit, 5-10 minutes extra on the clock. I think Norwich probably would have gotten the win on that day. So we'll get into the team news there then, and quite a bit in terms of Norwich. They've got Ozan Kabak out, Lucas Rapp, who pulled out of training on Thursday with a niggle and knee injury, and American striker Josh Sargent. He's out of this game, and I don't know why, but Dean Smith's already said that he'll be okay next week against Villa. So I don't really know the extent of his injury, but he's going to be fit for Villa next week anyway. So it's a little bit random, but never mind. A couple other squad players out. I don't really think it's going to make too much of a difference. On loan, Man United fullback Brandon Williams is expected to be back in contention after obviously missing last week's game against his parent club. And Pierre Lees-Melou will be back, as well as Kenny McLean, who are expected to recover from injuries. They've both been training and expected to be available. Lees-Melou came off late in the Man United game with cramp, and Kenny McLean has a small fracture in his toe. So they're both expected to be fit. But Kabak, decent player. I spent some time on loan last season with Liverpool. And Josh Sargent, I've been a fan of. Hasn't really had the best of run-ins this season. He scored 2 goals in one game. I can't even remember if they were the only goals he scored this season. But it hasn't really been the player that they thought. Timo Pukki, obviously their danger man, has been for a couple of years. Scored the majority of their goals this season. Without him, it would be hard to see where the goals are actually going to come from, because obviously it hasn't been Sargent. So with Newcastle there then, and not really too much to talk about apart from Ryan Fraser. Eddie Howe did mention Ryan Fraser. He's gone for a second scan, and it's relatively good news. He says that it's not a massive problem for him. He's still going to spend a couple of weeks out, still going to miss this game. But he says he's in a race against time to be fit before the end of the season. So might have seen the last of Ryan Fraser this season, hopefully not. And same can be said about Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier as well, who are both on the road to recovery from their long-term injuries. Hopefully we'll have all 3 of them back before the season closes. The other thing Eddie Howe did say, though, is that they might need to freshen up. So this is where it gets a little bit juicy. We might need to freshen things up. We'll look at it on an individual basis, but we want players that are 100% fit and ready to give their best again physically. We've had a big physical effort so far, and we need to be ready. Just with a bit of a congested fixture list, think there's some players with a bit of fatigue in there. And now that we're not mathematically safe, but we're on the 40-point mark now, so you can pretty much say that safety is guaranteed now. So coming up against the team bottom of the league, don't want to be giving anybody any handouts. We still need to go and win this game because we are pushing for the top 10 now. Like, we don't need to be looking behind anymore, but I'd still like to look forward. I don't really want to rest on our laurels a little bit and be like, yeah, well, we're safe, so head to the beach, guys. Like, this is what we've done for the past few years. Like, it's not the way to go for me. Like, I don't really like that kind of mentality. You're safe. You've achieved what you need to do with like 5 games left of the season. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. Nah, I'm not a fan of that mentality. Like, so obviously still want to win these games. We've got 2 winnable games left this season in Norwich and Burnley in the bottom 3. I think that Burnley game at the end of the season, last game away to Turf Moor, be very, very interesting, depending on where their league position is come then. Might be a scrap for survival for them. So that'll be an interesting one. And then between that, we've got the 2 fighting for the league, Liverpool and Man City, as well as Arsenal, who just put 4 past Chelsea. So once we've got this Norwich game out the way, 3 games there where we might not get any points. We might get 1 if we're lucky in them 3 games. And then there's that last game against Burnley, who are fighting for survival. So to push for top 10, still need to be winning. Can't be rotating too much, I don't think. Still want to try. If Norwich get the win, then obviously they'll be looking at it like, right, push on. This is going to be their fight. Like, we're not here to relegate anybody. We're not here to save anybody. We're not here to give the title to Liverpool or Man City when we come to play them. We still want to do our best for us. So yeah, we'll see how things go on there. So I've made a few changes to the team as there is a bit of a shake-up, and I'll go through each position as well, just to say what can happen, what might happen, which is where we need you guys to get involved in the comments and let me know what your prediction will be. Anybody else need a rest, or anybody else need an opportunity that maybe hasn't really had much of one under Eddie Howe? I think that'll be one to look out for. That could be a good talking point. So we'll get into it there then. And for me, obviously goalkeeper's not really going to change much. I'd imagine that will still be Dubravka starting in goal. At the back 4, we will have Manquillo being the only one for me to come in. This because I've spoken about Emil Kraft many, many times. You'll know that I've been a fan of Emil Kraft, and thank you very much to everyone that I've seen in the last couple of weeks on Twitter, also giving him the appraisal that he deserves. I think it's finally starting to show through. So I'm not going to say I told you so, but I tell you so. Don't like. It quite annoys me still within the fan base that some people are still giving some players some stick. Like when I was at the game against Crystal Palace during the week there, a lot of people still on like Chris Wood's back saying, "Oh yeah, shite," and blah blah blah, like giving Maxi stick and everything. Like, what kind of like living in the past now? Like under like Steve Bruce and stuff, when things were going bad, it's understandable because the players weren't putting in an effort. They were lazy. They were shit. Like, they deserve a little bit of stick, but that's not the way things are at the minute. Times have changed. So get behind the lads. Stop criticizing people. So yeah, Emil Kraft, rightly so, maybe could be awarded like some kind of like comeback player of the season or the surprise package guy. Like, I think he's been absolutely outstanding and rightly now getting the credit that he deserves. But just to freshen things up a bit, just to give some people a little bit more of an opportunity. Obviously, it has been a bit of a 2-horse battle while Kieran Trippier has been out for that right-back position. The Emil Kraft won, I think, by a mile when Manquillo came in. Hasn't really done his best, whereas Emil Kraft hasn't really put a foot wrong. So for this game, though, just for rotation's sake, because Emil Kraft has played quite a few games in concession now, I think it's an opportunity for Manquillo just before Kieran Trippier comes back to show what he can do. With obviously the end of the season coming up, therefore the summer transfer window coming up, hopefully a big overhaul. A lot of players should be fighting for their contracts right now, and a player like Javier Manquillo is going to need to prove that, because right now he's 3rd on the depth chart of right backs at the minute. Like, Emil Kraft is beating him, which a couple of years ago we never would have thought would have been saying that. So yeah, Manquillo's got a lot to prove, so I'd like to see him get an opportunity. Target, he's another one who's been amazing this season, played a lot of games, been the out-and-out left-back. I mean, there hasn't even been any competition there. So, I don't know. Just because there's not really much competition there, I've got to say that Target's probably got to play, but he has played a lot of game time, so maybe that could be a little bit of rotation there. The only options really being Ritchie or Dummett, or maybe you could put Manquillo there and keep Emil Kraft in, because Manquillo probably has been better this season the handful of times that he's played on the left-hand side. So that could be another option, keeping Manquillo in the starting lineup, but only on the left-hand side. Eddie Howe did speak about Jamal Lewis, the forgotten man, today, saying he's had a few operations and recently another one, which is bad news for him. Like, keeping have these operations, still quite a young lad. It's a bit disappointing. Another player that we want to see a little bit more of, being like a big signing from Norwich, from against the team that we're playing. We hope this one has fixed his long-standing groin problem. It's been frustrating for him because he's not felt 100%. I'd love to see him back in pre-season and show us the player that he can be. Me too. I think there's a lot in there with Jamal Lewis. I'd still put him higher than Paul Dummett and Matt Ritchie, in my opinion. I think they're two of the guys who's probably going to be out the door in the January transfer window. We need to sign a left back. Hopefully it's Matt Targett. Could maybe bring in another one for a little bit of competition. Could maybe keep Manquillo and put him as a little bit of a, like, maybe like a third choice right back and third choice left back option. But yeah, obviously Jamal Lewis isn't in the 25-man squad, so he's not available, which is why I'm sticking with Targett. As I say, we still need to win the game. Not really Ritchie or Dummett's biggest fans at the minute. So yeah, Targett's staying in there for me. And at centre-back, I think there's probably a good opportunity to bring Jamal Lascelles back. But with Shah and Byrne, they've been immense, man. Like, it's hard to leave any one of them out. If any one of them is feeling fatigue, which is what Eddie Howe says, I want everyone who's 100% fit. If either one of them aren't 100% fit, then fair enough. Give Lascelles an opportunity. Maybe it's Fernandez. He's been on the bench, unused sub for the last couple of weeks as well. So Fernandez is now an option after spending a lot of the season on the sidelines through injury and such. But yeah, after the other day's performance, Shaw and Byrne are absolutely fantastic. So if they're 100% fit, then I'd love to see them keep their place. But yeah, Lascelles is another option as well. In midfield, I've gone with keeping Bruno and Shelvey. And going to give Joe Linton a bit of a break. He's played a lot of game time this season, barely been a substitute, and took a couple of knocks the other day during the Crystal Palace game. I thought he was maybe going to have to go off in the first half. Like, he quite often gets kicks, doesn't he? Like, he often picks up little niggly injuries in games. So he's one who's maybe he's just been carrying something for a little while and just been shaking it off, like what Willock did a couple of weeks ago. Like, Willock had been carrying, was it a knee injury or something like that? He'd been carrying that for like 3-4 weeks. And in the build up to, was it the Wolves game? Yeah, I think it was maybe the Wolves game. Just run its toll, really. Just put him out of that game. So missed the last couple. But when he's come on, been a brilliant sub, especially against Leicester with that dart and run to create the winner for Bruno. So yeah, I'd like to see Joe Willock get a start and Joe Linton get a rest. So that'll be one change that I would make. Also a case for Sean Longstaff, who Eddie Howe spoke very highly of since he's been here, really. Every time he gets a press conference, seems to mention how much he appreciates Sean Longstaff, who was coming out of contract, but is expected to sign a new one, with Eddie Howe saying that he has got a long-term future here. So yeah, Sean Longstaff might put in place for, I don't know, Shelvey maybe, because Bruno hasn't really had a lot of game time. Like, he has started the last few, but has been a bit more rotated than what Shelvey has been since Eddie Howe's taken over, as well as Joe Linton as well. Them two has put in a lot of minutes this season. So yeah, maybe it's Bruno, Sean Longstaff and Willock. Maybe that midfield three might work out. We'll see about that one. And up front, another change there with Sam Maximin being missed out for Jacob Murphy. And I do that because he's another one who takes a lot of kicks. After the Palace game midweek, state to say the lads do that lap of honour. And as always, Maxi limps around. I think he does that every game. I don't know if it's just a pimp limp. I don't know if it's just his swagger. But he's another one that gets booted right, left, and centre. Does a lot of running, a lot of running. So had a lot of mileage on him this season. So in the name of giving a couple of players a rest, waiting for bigger games like Leicester, like Liverpool, City, and Arsenal coming up, might be sensible just to give him a little bit of a break, put him on the bench. Maybe he's a bit of an impact sub if things aren't going well towards the end of the game. But Murphy, he was one that I was hoping would come in when we lost out with Ryan Fraser. Because just while Maxi was out, Maxi and Fraser both spent a little bit of time out about a month or so ago. Murphy came in and was absolutely fantastic. Couldn't really put a foot wrong with Murphy. I thought he was brilliant. So I would have had him in ahead of Almiron, but Almiron's proved me wrong. I think these last couple of games, he's been brilliant. We spoke about him a lot during the Wolves watch-along. Has he got a future here? Is he good enough? I think his performance the other night was absolutely outstanding against Palace Almiron. So he's another one that hasn't had loads and loads of game time and is another one who has a lot to prove. So Almiron stays in the starting 11 with Jake and Murphy coming in to give Maxi a bit of a rest. And will it be Chris Wood or will we get an opportunity from Dwight Gale? Dwight Gale's got a pretty good goal-scoring record against Norwich. That kind of championship team where where Dwight Gale has a decent goal-scoring record, can't score goals against them, scored against them in the championship season. That dramatic 4-3 win in the championship. That's when Dwight Gale was on fire, when he was at his absolute best for Newcastle. So that could be interesting, but I think with a big guy like Chris Wood, just to set the tone, I'd maybe start Wood. And if we are doing well, if we are maybe a couple of goals up, then maybe look to give Dwight Gale a bit of a chance later on in the game. So that would be my starting 11 there, then, with a couple of alternates maybe. I think Lascelles, Sean Longstaff, and Dwight Gale would maybe be the ones that I'd maybe to look to bring in. Maybe give Target a rest and maybe put Manquillo at left back and keep Kraft in as well. But it's an interesting one. Like when Eddie Howe said that this morning, I thought, ooh, I've got a little bit of a challenge here. Shaking things up, probably a sensible thing, very tactical, very sensible of Eddie Howe. So it's going to be interesting. And this will be my bench that I've got Darlow there with Kraft and Lascelles as mentioned, and Fernandez as well. Dummett missed out on the squad space for Crystal Palace. No mention of where Paul Dummett is. Maybe he's just missed out because we had a couple of players back. So Richie's the only left back option there. Obviously, as I mentioned, Manquillo could play there and Kraft is an option. Sean Longstaff, who I wouldn't mind saying and getting a starting role to give Shelvey a well-deserved break with the lads who are sacrificed for a little bit of game time. Joe Linton and Sir Maximin taking up a spot on the bench. And Dwight Gale, who I would like to see get a few minutes, if not from the start, at least a good 20, 30-minute run out, try and get a couple of goals under his belt, because he's another one really, really fighting for his position in this squad as well. Him and Richie, I think you could look at them. Maybe Darlow as well, but Darlow's a decent backup goalkeeper. Fernandez maybe is down in the pecking order a little bit now as well. I think they're the guys that you think they're probably not going to be here this season. So if Eddie Howe is going to switch it up, give people an opportunity, they're the ones that need them opportunities to fight for their place. So yeah, I'd very much like to see Dwight Gale get an opportunity just to see what he can do. So that's my lineup there. And guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, give me your score predictions as well. As mentioned at the start of the video, we don't have a good record at Carrow Road. Last win coming in 1994. Bloody long time ago. So it's going to be a tough one, especially if we do rotate it. I think a point, it's okay. Norwich are fighting for their lives. Probably a little too late right at the minute. But I think we can break that duct. I think if we still go with a pretty strong team, if we don't rotate too much, I think we've got more than enough to get it over the line. So Brucey like that one. Let's get it over the line. Take a transfer. Get it over the line, lads. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Newcastle. I think we will break our poor record at Carrow Road. The form that we've been in, the poor form Norwich have been in, I think it's a given. Hopefully, I say that. But yeah, 2-1 win for Newcastle against Norwich. Make sure that you like this video. Subscribe to the Magpie Channel TV. Appreciate all the contributions over the last few months. Yeah, come back tomorrow for some post-match content. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy yourself.